Good evening, everyone. On behalf of myself and Joe, I hope that you're keeping well. We've really missed you over the last few weeks. Possibly going to go on for a bit longer, but we want you to know that we really think about you and we care about you. And I know that that is also true for all the leaders of Tuesday Club. We really miss being with you. But tonight, what I'm going to do is tell you a story, and it's a story out of the Bible, and it's a story from the book of Judges, and it is the story of Ehud, and Ehud was the second of the judges. The Lord appointed judges when he felt that the people of Israel were off the straight and narrow. They were being naughty. They started to ignore him, worshipping other gods, following other kings. And so the Lord used to appoint a judge. There were 14 of them. And these judges brought the people of Israel back into God's sight, basically, and got them worshipping properly. And this is, as I say, the story of Ehud. It's not the sort of story, though, that you would expect to find in the Bible. It's gross and funny, very popular among the Hebrew people who suffered under their Moabite overlords. Why? Well, because it showed that brains were better than brawn. One man with courage and audacity could demolish an enemy king. Ehud was the hero of the story, and he was a shining example of what the Israelites did best: adapting to a situation and making the most of what they had. He had no trained army to fight for him, so he cut off the head, so to speak, of his enemy, leaving their army leaderless. He was alone, like when David fought Goliath, and apparently he got no armour. But this was quite cute because it actually made him look harmless. He had no regular weapons, so he adapted the one that he did have. He was left-handed, but he cleverly found a way to put this to really good use. No wonder he was a hero to his people. So here we are, Ehud and the Moabite king Eglon. Ehud decided to assassinate King Eglon of Moab rather than pay tributes. Tributes, another word for taxes. He made a double-edged sword, sharp on both sides. Now this was unusual because at that time swords were curved and they were only sharp on one side. Because he was left-handed, he fastened his sword directly onto his right thigh instead of his left, hiding it under his clothes. Then he went to deliver tribute or taxes to Eglon. Conquered people paid onerous taxes to their overlords. He was the leader of the delegation, and so his servants carried the cash. And naturally they were all searched for weapons. But Ehud's sword was not where a sword would normally be. On his left thigh. So it was missed by the guards. At this point in the story, the Bible makes the point that the king to whom the taxes were being paid, Eglon, was an enormously fat man. Not a warrior, not kingly, but actually a figure of fun. When the taxes had been presented, Ehud sent away his assistants and asked for a private audience with Eglon. This was granted, and all the king's assistants left as well. Alone with the king in a small private chamber, Ehud pulled the sword from its hiding place and thrust it into the fat man's belly. He pushed it so deep into the man's bowels that the hilt of the sword disappeared under the flesh. The Bible says that the dirt came out. Dirt being another word for toilet issues. It's an important point because it also meant that the room didn't smell very nice. Having stabbed the king, Ehud left, locking the door behind him. Then he left the palace. When King Eglon's servants came back and found the door locked, they assumed that their master was basically on the toilet because they could smell a funny smell in the room. They waited and waited. Finally, they unlocked the door and found the king dead on the floor. But by this time, Ehud was long gone. The Bible says, "And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them. And he said unto them, Follow after me, for the Lord hath delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fords of Jordan towards Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over. And they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valour, and there escaped not a man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest 80 years. I hope you enjoyed that story. A little bit bloodthirsty, a little bit strange. We really look forward to seeing you again. And until we do, keep safe. Much love from myself and Joe and all the leaders of Tuesday Club. Have a great night.